Okay, so next up we have Kelly Quinn. She's going to be reading a story from her brother who is an EMT, right? Story's called Johnny. If you want to let us know a little bit about it and go on.
It's kind of in the, I ended up writing something that, because, well, I get into it in the story. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and start it because it's pretty much all in there. My big brother has been working in the emergency medical field since I was in college. And a few years ago, he became a paramedic. Always the athlete, he's had a lot of surgeries and injuries over the years. While skateboarding in the garage as a preteen, he put his hand through a window accidentally and sliced his wrist open. I remember him telling me how cool it was that the doctor opened the flap of skin on his arm so that he could see his tendons move. And well, I can handle blood, but that makes me shudder to think. Over about a decade and a half, I've heard some crazy stories about his jobs. Strange conversations and stranger tattoos in the ER, teenagers tripping on Jimson weed, saying things to their parents that would make anyone cringe. A 20-something taking a running headfirst leap out of a third-story window and then walking back up to his apartment with his arm flopping around. He's told me plenty of anecdotes, and I think the moral has usually been don't do drugs. I wanted to ask him to share a story for today. In fact, I did. And he told me about an elderly woman that he sat and talked with as her husband with dementia walked around aimlessly. He and his partner gave her some resources and then they left. She contacted their headquarters to get in touch with him a week later because she remembered him telling her that he lives in an older home, which is actually older than the United States, and that he has a new baby girl. She wanted to give him an old rocking chair that her children grew up with. He went to pick it up and brought a picture of his little one. And then he said, the end. He's gotten letters and praise and awards for the work he's done with all kinds of people, especially when he worked for a children's hospital. And I can say very proudly that my big brother can get a PICC line into a tiny baby while riding in the back of an ambulance. He's sat on the floor with kids dealing with autistic meltdowns and calmed them to the point where they'd ask for him to be around and light up every time they saw him. The reason that it was hard for me to ask for a specific story from him, and the reason I didn't want to push to get the right one, was because I've heard the other kinds of stories too. The car accidents, the heart attacks, the ones who didn't make it. The blood and the trauma that he sees regularly. The call he was spared from because someone else was closer, that involved a toddler finding a gun in the house. That was just the other week. Those calls are never easy for anyone, but he has kids now. And yet, if he'd had to, he would have been there. This time hasn't been easy for anyone, and I can't imagine how hard it is on his family that it's his job to go out and help people in a pandemic. The courage that it takes, the training, the empathy. He has saved countless lives. I've always been extremely proud of my brother, and now more than ever, I thank him. Thank you, Johnny. Good work.
Yeah, thank you. Those guys are real heroes, and women also, men and women. They're real heroes. Thank you for sharing that. And also, you were going to perform a song you wrote this week. Very excited. It's always just so scary to like write a song and perform it very quickly. But Kelly's such a badass. I was like, let's do this. It's going to be great. I would love to hear it. Thank you so much for sharing. Are you ready to go? Or
I'm ready to go. As ready as I'll ever be.
Yeah, you're ready. You're always ready.
So this is a song that I've started writing a musical theater play, and this is the opening song. And here it goes. Hi, my name's Ellie, and I've moved a lot, and I've learned a lot about the Louvre and Trevi Fountain. I speak Spanish and Italian. I'm here to tell you just a bit about myself, and then I'll move to somewhere else, and you'll never know me. I like who I'm becoming, but it's hard and a little lonely. My dad is in the Navy, but we can be pen pals. We'll write each other always a few months apart. And then I'll move again and you'll lose my address. Who needs a best friend anyway? Dad's on cruise and mom supports us. They say it's gonna be okay. The hardest thing we have to do is wait for his return, when he'll sweep me up into his arms and give me something new to learn. 6 months later, if we're lucky, please be careful. I'm proud of all the things my dad does. He flies upside down in planes. The military sure keeps him busy, but he brings me presents at the end. I have to pack now and then learn a new language. I'll see things most people dream of, and I'm only 6. And then I'll move again and it starts all over. New people, place, and things. Might not have roots like other people, but I have wings.
That was really great. I can just see that in a musical. Oh, you're like really our musical superstar. I love it. Oh, and I have to iterate. You started writing it Wednesday, right? Like Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, I had some of the beginning done, and kind of the melody from a long time ago. I wrote that in a day too, though. But then it actually helped me to kind of figure out what the whole rest of the song was about, because I had only about half of it. And I changed basically all of the lyrics. And but it has so much to do with my life growing up, and it's fictionalized, but it's I mean, I was ready to make my second big move when I was 6, and I had seen like a lot of Europe by that time, and I spoke Italian and I was learning French, and yeah, it's definitely, it's amazing to think on the other side, because from my perspective, I was just a little kid, and I was always, we were always traveling and going places and moving. And yeah, so that was, it's interesting to, be older and kind of see it more from my parents' perspective. But it's always going to be part of my story, and who I am and why I am the way I am, in huge part because of military and the Navy, and my dad, and what my dad did and what my mom did to support us, and to take care of 4 kids while dad's on cruise all by herself. So
yeah, it's a whole culture. It is a different culture.
Yeah, that's third culture kids.
Yeah, and that's why when people get out of the service, a lot of them, you have to take training on how to integrate back into society, because that's not the society you've been living in. It is different. So
you don't have that for kids, though. Just FYI, you got to figure it out on your own.
Oh, so yeah,
throw you in, and then
I know they're like, it's a kid. They'll figure it out anyways.
Yes. So
yeah, my mom grew up a military brat.
I didn't know anything else growing up, so that was my normal.
Yeah,
and it was.
You're lucky, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, absolutely. And I would never change it for the world. But little things like when I was at so 6th grade was my 7th school. And when I had moved to Mississippi, I went to one school for 1st grade and a different school for 2nd grade. And I remember somebody asking me where I'd come from. And I said, I just moved here from Italy. And they said that I didn't have to brag. And I was like, I'm not, I didn't, I'm no, you asked me a question and I answered. That was, but kids are mean. So
Yeah. Yeah. People think weird things you're saying are bragging, and it's not. So
sometimes
it's
it's just
weird.
your life.
But thank you so much for sharing. So I'm just, yeah. So I'm